Hi, everybody. Welcome back to another podcast slash YouTube video. Thank you for tuning in every single week when you have to listen to all of our guests and the content that Jamie and I have put together in 2024. We are currently December 29th, and we decided to make this year-end review video, which we do every year. And thank you so much for spending the year with us again.
Yeah, it's been a very exciting 2024. We had a lot of new additions to Flip in the Barrel, not just on the podcast side, but also our events. So we want to just kind of dive into some of the learnings and lessons that we have gained from this past year, and also some of the really exciting news coming up for 2025, and kind of walk y'all through some of our favorite podcasts.
Yeah, and just to mention, we had 36 episodes, which is phenomenal. We do 3 episodes a year, and it's amazing. 36 people that we got the pleasure to not only meet, but learn from. And we always say it, FTB is free coaching. It's literally free mentorship, free coaching. It's people you would never get an opportunity to be in a room with, that you get to learn about them, and they're, most importantly, just the value that they can add to your life because they've been through a lot of things that maybe you haven't gone through yet as you're climbing up in your career. So Jamie, tell me, what were some of like your either favorite episodes or kind of those big things that like stand out from people's episodes?
Yeah, so one of the things that I have learned a lot in my personal life, and it just comes like to fruition whenever I hear these leaders speak on the podcast, is you never realize how easy you actually have it or how hard others do. And I think a lot of times we see it, especially when we look at our leadership and we think, man, they must have had it so good. Like, how did they get there? They probably had this easy ride. And then you go and you start listening to these people's stories. And there's multiple people that came on this year that had a really hard beginning. And that was beginning in just their personal life. Have they, we had some leaders that came on where they lost a family member to suicide, which is extremely heartbreaking. And to think that they came back from that at such a young age and was not only able to get back into the groove of things after having such a hard thing happen in their life, but then become a CEO or an executive vice president or excel in school after that. To me, it's just like, it's mind blowing when you hear about things that people have gone through. We also had multiple women who had children in high school, like, mind blowing to think they had a child in high school and then were single parents. Luckily, we're able to have that support around them in order to go back to school and get the degree that they, it took them maybe a little bit longer, but they were able to do it. And a lot of these situations you hear about, you think that, they're just done. Like, and they even said it on the podcast where they're like, I'm just going to be barefoot and pregnant. And like, that's what everybody thought. And then here they are, the leaders talking about this are now an executive vice president of a large service company in an oil and gas space. And it's just things that you could never imagine unless you listen to them and their stories, which is why I personally love what we do on Flipping the Barrel, because even just for me and myself, it's just listening to each person that comes on and hearing their journey just reminds me of how lucky some of us are, and that you don't really know how hard you have it or how good you have it until you really start to hear from other people.
To your point, there's been so many people on the podcast that, you would never think that they've been through such hard things when you speak to them today, because they're bubbly or they have a glow, and like they're happy and they've been able to achieve so much that when you find out and you peel the layers, you realize that they've been through some really hard things. And so I think that's what's probably like the takeaway, is you never know what people have been through, or you never know what somebody is currently going through when you talk to them. And so I think I find that kind of success so inspiring when it wasn't given to them. It wasn't an easy journey. Like, I think life is really that journey and like the ups and downs that make or break you. And we've had a lot of guests this year where it was just incredible to hear their success, regardless of where they came from, the difficulties of their upbringings, deaths in their family and their children, their spouses, etc. So, everybody goes through so many different things in life. And when you come out on top, I think that's so inspiring. For me, I have to mention her, but one of the key guests for me was Hinda Garbi, CEO of Bureau Veritas, 25 plus years at SLB before she left. And the reason I have to bring her up is because I reached out to her maybe like 4 years ago
Mhm.
and we never heard back. And then 3 years ago, we kind of got like a maybe. 2 years ago, she said yes and said, wait until I'm CEO in a year. And so it was just a very long time coming, where we were excited for 4 years to finally get her to come on the podcast. And that just speaks to a lot of what Jamie and I do, where we're knocking on doors constantly. We're constantly asking people. We get shut down still today. And we don't stop at the first door. We go to the second and third door, and whatever it is we need to do to make that happen and get that
Mhm.
guest to finally say yes, we will do. And for me, it was just so rewarding that like we finally got her to come on the podcast and give such good, valuable advice, and just seeing her continue her career beyond SLB and go after what she wanted, which was the title of being a CEO and running a company
Mhm.
one day, even after 26, 7, 8 years, I don't even know how long, and she got to where she wanted, is really cool to see. And it just keeps showing you that like even at executive vice presidents, these people are still thriving for that next thing and that next thing, and the goalpost just never ends. And so it's
Mhm.
really cool that she came on. How about you? Is there like one particular podcast like you close your eyes, you think of this one guest?
Yeah, I am still like just so impressed with Audrey. She is one of the founders of Franklin Mountain Energy, and her story is just incredible when you think about her during COVID, sitting there with her two boys at her coffee table with them running around and her trying to get funding for this great idea that she had, which was to start Franklin Mountain. And so many banks had turned her down. I think she had made hundreds of meetings and calls during this period at home, okay, during COVID because we weren't able to leave. And she had no help with the children. So she was doing all of that in all that chaos, which we all know is very difficult. And she was able to get the Bank of Oklahoma to fund her. And now, the company has excelled as one of the largest in the Permian Basin. But just to hear that she continued to go even through that hard and difficult moment, she never stopped. It just makes you think like it's possible to do anything.
Mhm.
And to what you said, Marcial, like just all the no's that we get throughout the year, it's every story that comes to the podcast that reminds me like of what we're doing and why it's so important to not ever, risk the failure piece. Like we're going to fail. We're going to have people tell us no, but we're going to continue to ask because at the end of the day, just like in Audrey's story, it's all a numbers game. You ask so many people, eventually somebody's going to say yes, or eventually that person that you want is going to say yes. So I just think that it's just so important that we fill ourselves with like positivity and these stories, like what we do on Flipping the Barrel, to continue to elevate us personally and like what we're driven to do, because not one of these individuals had it easy. So I think that for me, it's really Audrey, and that's why I really loved having her at our event, which we just finished in October. Reputation Matters. Marcel, tell our listeners a little bit about that.
Yeah, so actually reflecting back on events as a whole for Flip in the Barrel, we did 3 big events: Pursuing Greatness, Energizing Tomorrow, and Representation Matters. And we will be doing the same ones in 2025. So make sure you're ready to buy a ticket whenever they go live, because we always say it, but they do sell out. And I meet so many people that are like, we want to go to your event and you don't. So come in 2025 because we will be doing it. But I think the best part about the events is just the networking and meeting people that you see online all the time. I feel like so many people meet each other and they're like, you're on LinkedIn, all of you are on LinkedIn. Like we all know each other from LinkedIn, but meeting in person is just so different. And I think with our events, we really curate that like warm feeling where everyone could just talk to each other. It's big, but
Mhm.
small enough where it's just so cool to see the networking that's been done in the events. And for Representation Matters that we just finished in October, we had the Men for Change panel, which was really cool just to hear from executive men leaders about the changes that they're doing in their companies and just et cetera.
Mhm.
My favorite is always the mother-daughter panel, because I think it's the one panel where people around the room are just feeling so many feelings, mixed emotions, happiness, sadness. I mean, you name it, because everyone in that room that has children, whether you're a male or a female, you
Mhm.
realize like one day I want to sit down with my kid and I hope they say the same thing to me, because we're always struggling, questioning ourselves, like, is what we're doing the right thing? And I
Mhm.
think seeing these two successful women like Deidre and Diane, after all these years of hard work and sacrifice and not necessarily being there all the time, and just to hear their daughters go like, you're my biggest inspiration, like that's so cool. So I love that panel. And of course, the women empowering women, we got the most feedback wise in terms of how much people loved it, with the ladies from that panel, with Anne Fox, Ree,
Mm.
Deidre, and Megan running it, and Audrey.
It was so good having Anne Fox back. Anne Fox was like a real OG. She was one of the first women we had on the podcast 5 years ago. So being able to bring her back for this
Yes.
exciting event 5 years later, I think was for me like so amazing. I look back at the photos, Marciel, of us with her
We've
when we
changed
used
so
to do
much.
it. Yeah,
She
all the
hasn't.
gray
We have.
hair. Yeah, we look definitely different in a, I would say in a better
Yeah.
light with glow up if anything. But it was really cool to have Anne back and just hearing her live in person. I think was just really inspirational. And then adding energizing tomorrow, I think was really great for our community. We had a lot of new people come to energizing tomorrow, which was our summer event. So please stay tuned for that as we're going to be doing another one in 2025. And this event was just a little bit different on how we structured it. And we were able to also get some outside moderators, which made it a lot more interesting than just having Marcel and I moderate the panels, which really brought a really good structure and just an opportunity for others to have a voice. And which is what we're really, what we really push for at Flipping the Barrel. And then also pursuing greatness, as always, our women's brunch was a total hit. And we had Maria Claudia, which she's one of the executives that work for Baker Hughes, one of the only female executives that run an oilfield service company. And I think that having her and from her culture background too, which is a really significant milestone for us and for her, as she doesn't speak a lot. And
Mhm.
I just remember some of the young ladies at the very end, they raising their hand and just saying like how they were so moved by just hearing her and her story, which I think really speaks volumes about some of the guests that come to our events. So like always, our focus has always been to really find the voices of those that maybe you don't get to hear a lot from, and really shine a light on not just them but our industry. And I think in 2025 we're going to see a lot more of that. So we hope everybody listening and in our community can really join us for what we have coming next. There's a lot of exciting events that we'll be having per usual. Like we had mentioned, Pursuing Greatness will be April 18th. Energizing Tomorrow is going to be in the summertime. We'll launch that date once we have it. And then we also will have Reputation Matters October 25th. And then we also do a partnership with Angie Witowski called Take the Lead. So we'd love to have our community at those events as well, as those are leadership development events that we do with her. And she's a really great resource and in an executive level engagement as well that we have added to our annual events.
Yeah. So just so much happened with FTV this year. It's been fantastic. And of course, we couldn't be where we are today doing this podcast without the support from our sponsors, as well as just people tuning in and listening. Because at the end of the day, we need an audience. We could be putting out all the podcasts in the world. If there's nobody tuning in, we don't really have a podcast. And so it's just been incredible, the growth that the podcast has had, the numbers, and just getting more global and more global. As like every trip that I did that was outside of the US, it was incredible to see people from around the world go like, Flipping the Barrel, like I tune in, I watch you guys. So it's really cool on that aspect. And we have about a few minutes left because we wanted to keep it short. But Jamie, turning this into more of a personal note, what are some reflections on your end for 2024? You just welcomed your second baby, you took
Mm.
maternity leave. Tell me a little bit about like what you're taking away this year.
Yeah, so man, that question is one that I have been thinking as the year comes to a close, because bringing in another family member in August, we brought Kendall into the world, and she's 4 months now, and I said this at the event, but it's so important to me to mention it again that I myself did not believe that it was possible. And it's so silly now. And I think I saw somebody on Instagram recently, the lady that is married to the 10X guy. What's her name,
Oh, I
Marciel?
love
You know the
her.
10X.
Yeah, Grant
Um,
Cardone, Elena Cardone.
Grant
I
Cardone,
love
Elena
her.
Cardone.
Yes.
I love her. So she came out and I just saw it just like yesterday and it really hit home with me. She came out, she did like a little virtual post like she does where she talks to the camera and she's like she said it's so silly of me that I thought that children were going to hold my career back and I waited so long to have kids and she's like I feel like I should have never brought that out into the world and I should have never felt that way and she's like the kids have done nothing but made me better, gave me goals, like made me accomplish things I didn't think I'd be able to accomplish. And for me, that is what I feel like is just so important for everybody listening and just for men and women is that children don't hold you back. If anything, they glorify and they make your life better.
Mhm.
And what I'm taking into 2025 is the fact that now I not just have one girl, but I have two girls that look up to everything that I do as a mom and in my career. And it's so important to show them that I don't know why I'm getting emotional. It's so important to show them that a career is something that they too can share with you and seeing you succeed only brings them more confidence and that is what I absolutely love about what we do and I think as parents it's important to show your children like the things that you love, have that be your job, your passions, you working out. You know, I know Marcel, you show Sky that a lot and y'all have like your home gym and she sees how important working out is to
Mhm.
you and eating healthy. And like there's all these habits that you don't even realize your kids are picking up from you. And as successful people usually do and what they say is like your kids are a reflection of you and so I want to be that reflection in 2025 to show my daughters that you can do anything that you want to do and have that be if you want to travel, if you want to stay home, if you want to buy a second home, if you want to change careers or whatever you want to do. I think it really is important to reflect that onto your family and have those conversations with them and just be a great example.
I love
So
that.
that's for me. And
I
Maciel would
love it.
love to hear your takeaway.
Just to build on what you said, I think I love what you mentioned on just having children and kind of like so many people that I know today that want kids at some point. They don't have kids, but it's like this whole career dilemma thing. And I know we were going through that dilemma ourselves when we first met. And I
Yes.
just want to go back and like slap ourselves because I'm like, who put that into our heads that like you can't do both? We've seen so many maybe bad examples in the past or examples where it didn't work out, but it's like that's not you. That's not who you are. You can make it work. Like don't look at other examples and just make it work because to your point, it adds so much richness to your family. It makes you work harder, be better. And so like I absolutely love that. And I think if you're debating whether or not, it's like go do that because your kids are for life, not a career or your job. So just like do that. Don't stop putting it on the back burner is like probably my advice. But reflecting, I guess, quickly on 2024, for me, it's just being grateful every single day that I get to wake up and like live this life that, you know, just being able to wake up, like waking up is already like you won. A lot of people don't get to wake
Hmm.
up. They go to bed and they don't
Hmm.
wake up. So I think it's just like enjoying those really small things in life of like having my coffee in the morning, getting to work out, being thankful that I have two legs and energy to work out. And so I think that's been my mindset. And that's kind of what I'm bringing into 2025 is focusing on those things versus a career, a job, a title, a promotion, what's next. Like that's just a given. Like just work hard and like that's okay. But I'm not focusing on that. I feel like other years I was really focused on that. Like, what am I going to
Hmm.
do next? And my career and, what's my promotion and what am I going to lead next and whatever. And then this year is really like, how many workouts can I enjoy peacefully in my house? Like it's a very different mindset. But I think I just want to enjoy the little things in life because I think that's life. That's the whole point of life is, the little
You've
moments
worked so
and
hard for it.
spending time with
Hmm.
our kids and with our husbands and just like I don't want to be away from my family as much as if I don't have to. So it's like
Hmm.
I think it's a different, I guess, because we're 35 now, so it's a little bit more of a holistic goal
I love
versus
it.
other goals, you know. But
I
that's
love
yeah.
it. I think, and for all of our listeners in our community here, I mean, that is what we want to bring into 2025 is more inspirational stories for you, opportunities for you to be involved in our events, and also there's going to be some exciting new things that we're going to be doing too, just
Mhm.
based on what Masa and I both want to bring into the new year, and how we want to continue to grow what FTB is and the opportunities for all of our listeners to be a part of it, and it's going to be huge. So we hope that you continue to listen, and continue to get inspired, and please email us, like, let us know what your thoughts are, let us know what your favorite episodes are, give us some advice on who you'd like for us to interview, or like what kind of questions you want us to ask. And then on our upcoming event on April 18th, Pursuing Greatness, we're still working on the agenda. Would love to hear your thoughts on what kind of panels you want to see. So please email us,
Yes.
flippingthebarrel@gmail.com. Connect with Marcel and I on LinkedIn. It's Jamie Elrod, Marcel Diaz. We're super easy to find on Instagram, Flipping the Barrel. And just connect with us, reach out to us. We'd love to hear from you. And thank you so much for spending the last 20 minutes with us, and hearing our end of 2024 review.
Yes, thank you so much. And we'll see you in 2025 with so many exciting things. See
Yes.
ya.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.